Hey everybody, welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley412. Hope you all have had a fantastic week, and hopefully Saturday is a nice start to the weekend for all of us. Nice 10-game slate, all the games starting at the exact same time, so it's kind of like a race to the finish, which is always more exciting to me. But Baltimore, New York, and Philadelphia, some serious rain concerns. It wouldn't shock me if one of them postponed, but I'm not a meteorologist. I just kind of look at what they tell me, and it's looking like 75% chance of rain in all three of those cities, with some scattered showers throughout the day. So there is some delay concern as well, like with the scattered storms. Like there's definitely a possibility the game starts, they only get 3 or 4 innings in, and then it's a delay, and your starting pitcher is like done, and that's a cause for concern because there's a lot of solid pitchers in these bad matchups, or in this bad weather matchups. Gray, Miller, Scherzer, even Kramer. He's been pretty solid this season. So it's going to be a rain slate, unfortunately. But hopefully, if you're up to date on the weather and keeping track of all that, maybe you can gain a little bit of an advantage with that. So let's just kind of dive right in. I got the sheet up here for you guys. You can see over here. You can see where the rain is the big issues. I also put blue on the pitchers and the bats that I do think have some rain threat to them. But Paxton's going to be leading it off. He's the most expensive guy on the slate, but for very good reason. He's been a machine as of late, and now he's going up against the White Sox, who just should not be a concerning offense for any starting pitcher. But he's got a fantastic floor. He goes super deep into games. He's eclipsed the 100-plus pitch mark a handful of times this season. So low walk rate, nice solid floor of a strikeout rate. Goes deep into games, even when he finds a little bit of trouble. I got no issues with Paxton being the SP1 on this slate. Kelly, below him, facing off against San Francisco. Nice hitter's park. Kelly, I mean, he's been pretty good as well. Like, you're going to see, like, as we go throughout the pitchers here, like, there's a lot of solid pitching options on this slate. Many of them are in rain-threatened spots, which is unfortunate. But, I mean, if you want to argue, between, 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys to be the SP1 on this slate, I would fully listen to it. But, yeah, it's just one of those nice slates. I feel like we haven't had one of these, or at least I haven't covered a video of one of these in a long time. I feel like I've just been doing like terrible pitching slates, but it feels nice to kind of get a good one. But Merrill Kelly, he's gonna be right up at the top, absolutely for sure. I put Berrios below both of those guys. Berrios is going up against Oakland. I mean, Oakland, we pick on them all year long. We've been picking on them all year long, but man, they're a feisty, scrappy bunch. And if you've been, targeting pitchers against them over the past week or two, I mean, you've kind of noticed it for sure. Looking at their metrics, I mean, they're still a below average offense for sure, but they can, be annoying at times. Berrios, he's been a pretty boomer bust pitcher. He has been. I've been doing these videos for a couple of years now. He's always been this boom bust kind of guy. He's not really going to provide you much of a floor because he's either on or he's off. So I do think Berrios ranks third because of the trust factor. I do have him ranked a little bit below there. Freddie Peralta, I actually have him fourth going up against Cleveland. I might even move him up a little bit. Peralta's main issue this season has been allowing hard contact that leads to home runs. Okay, he's been allowing a lot of home runs. You can kind of see it just in the game logs here. But he's going up against Cleveland, and the team that is dead last since May 1st in the majors against right-handed pitching and home runs is Cleveland. Wouldn't be giving you the stat if it wasn't Cleveland. But yeah, Cleveland only has 21 home runs as an entire team against right-handed pitching in the past 7 weeks. So that's pretty crazy. When you're only averaging 3 home runs as an entire team against right-handed pitching over the 2-month stretch, not good. So I might actually move Peralta up a little bit, but the reason I do have him a little bit below is because Cleveland is one of the lowest strikeout rate teams as well. So they're not going to get a lot of home runs, but they're also not going to be striking out a whole lot as a team. So it does bump Peralta down a little bit in my rankings. Gray and Miller, I have them down here, but honestly, like, these guys are great. Miller had like 2 awful, horrendous starts that he wants to forget about, but he had a nice bounce back start, or a nice bounce back past 2 starts against Miami and the White Sox. Baltimore, they're a pretty dead average offense when you're looking at, in terms of like ISO, WRC plus, all that. Combined metrics, they're right around average, essentially, against right-handed pitching. So I'm not too concerned about it. Bryce Miller, it's really the rain is the biggest threat with Miller here. And same with Gray. It's the rain threat that we have to be worried about. I think of those 3 rain cities, like Philadelphia was looking the worst. But still, I mean, when you're talking about a 70% chance of rain in the other cities, it's still not great. Speaking of not great, John Gray, his last start, but before that, I mean, he was a master of, floor points and reducing run. I mean, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 earned runs in his previous 6 starts before that. So he's been pretty consistent all throughout the entire season. So like, I'm not concerned about this one start against Toronto. The Yankees lineup, still without Aaron Judge. They got a lot of strikeouts in their lineup. So I do think that Gray can be a nice option if that rain holds off. So there is a little threat with the rain, which is kind of have him ranked down there. Going into the mid-tier, Bibby, I actually have him ranked up top, going up against Milwaukee, just because of how bad Milwaukee has been as of late. They've just been bad. I mean, you think, sorry, that's my phone. You think that, Oakland is the poorest team and whatnot. It's Milwaukee. It's Milwaukee. Their offense hasn't been able to do anything. So I do think that Bibby could be one of my favorite mid-tier plays. It does look kind of odd here with, his walk rate, his earned runs now and again. But I still think that he's a solid option if you do want to go here. And no rain threat. Like, that's the other main thing is, like, there's no rain threat. Because Scherzer and Kramer, if weather was not an option, I would have both of these guys ahead of Bibby. Scherzer especially, just because, I mean, it's Max Scherzer, and man, he's good. I still think he's too cheap at 8.9K. I know he hasn't been the Scherzer as of previous years, but it's still Scherzer. We know what his ceiling is capable of. And then Kramer's facing off against Seattle, a Seattle team that ranks second or tied for second for highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching since May 1st. I'm not going back to the full season. There's ebbs and flows throughout the season. So I've been using like May 1st as a cutoff, and then when we turn to July, I might bump it up to like May 15th or so, or even probably May 15th is when I'll kind of bump it up. But still, Seattle, they've been striking out a ton. We saw Seattle strike out 16 times against Lance Lynn about a week ago. So, like, the strikeouts are there. Kramer has provided a solid floor in the strikeout department. So, I think all those things, he's a fine play. So, if the weather does hold off, and in Philly and in Baltimore, I would still put Scherzer and Kramer above Bibby. But it's mainly because no rain. Lance Lynn, just talked about, hey, he just struck out Seattle 16 times. Where did that come from? But Seattle strikes out a whole lot. Boston does not. Boston's a bottom 10 team in strikeout rate. I looked at the other teams in the bottom 10% strikeout rate. And it was teams like New York and Toronto and the Dodgers. Can't remember who it was. But essentially, Lance Lynn's only averaging like just below 5 strikeouts per game against those teams. And his DraftKings points is not much better. So I'm going to be a fade on Lance Lynn here. The only, saving grace to Lynn is that, like, he's going to be going 90 to 100 plus pitches every start. It does not matter if he is getting just torched. They're going to keep him in there. He's going to have the opportunity to pitch out of it to rack up some strikeouts. But Boston, again, is a low strikeout team. And like you can see here, 8 earned runs. He's still going 90 pitches, 5 earned runs. He's still going 100 pitches, 4 earned runs. He's still going 105 pitches. Like, he's a workhorse, which we love in DFS, but it can burn you at times. And then Beto against Miami. It's more so just Miami doesn't have great numbers. Honestly, I might even put him over here in the no interest category. Like, I'm not going to have any Beto shares in this mid tier. Going into the cheap tier, Trinos, I do have a question mark. Tampa Bay pitcher is not made known yet. I'm recording. You can see the timestamp down below. I'm actually recording this at 8 o'clock the night before. So there is no Tampa Bay starting pitcher. Same with San Francisco. There's no San Francisco starting pitcher announced yet. But if Trinos is in, he's the probable. I think that's a fine play. Going up against Kansas City, I think he's a fine play for sure. Harris, Hulk Hogan Harris, going up against Toronto. It's been fine. He's been fine. Like, I know the season-long numbers don't look great, but, like, it was that one start he had in April that just fell apart on him. Negative 15 points, but he has taken a month off from the majors. He's come back. He's doing just fine. I mean, we're talking about sub 6K for a pitcher who can go 90-plus pitches. He can go 6. He's even shown to go 7 innings against Tampa Bay here, and he's really generated some nice, softer contact. So if he's able, at 6K, I'm looking for maybe 15 points. If he can get me 15 points, thumbs up, awesome. He's paid off his salary. I'll even take a 13 or a 14 down at this low price tag tier. And he's certainly shown that he's capable of doing it. He's shown that he can strike people out. The issue is that Toronto is a very low strikeout team. So there's some risk involved there. I do think that a lot of builds are going to be hanging up towards the top here, which means we're going to probably have to find a lot of value in terms of the bats. So let's talk about the bats here real quick. Speaking of not getting value in the bats, I do think Atlanta is going to be the chalk team. I don't know. They might not even be chalk. They're obviously going to be the team with the highest implied run total. Fun fact, every single game on this 10-game slate is, or at least that has odds right now, is an 8.5 run total, except for the Atlanta-Cincinnati game, which is 11.5, creeping up towards 12. So pretty even numbers all around, but Atlanta's going to have the highest implied run total on the entire slate, but man, are they expensive. Just talked about how there's not a lot of valuable pitchers on this slate, so you're going to be almost forced into spending up at pitcher. An Atlanta stack, major stack, is not what you're going to be able to get with Acuna at 6.5, Olsen, Riley, Albies all above at or above 5K, and even their cheap, quote unquote cheaper guys are still 4K and above. So Atlanta, fantastic offense. They're going to be smashing the ball around, especially against Ashcraft, who has been not great. If you want to look at his numbers, go ahead. Cover your eyes, though. They're scary. But after Atlanta, I do think Arizona is going to be one of my next favorite teams. And it's more so they're a little bit more affordable. I wish we knew the starting pitcher for San Francisco. I really do. I don't know who it is. It might not even be Manaea. They might do an opening pitcher, pitch long relief. I don't know what their plan is right now. But with Arizona's offense, I still think that a lot of their pricing has not caught up to what these guys are capable in terms of, power generated, of hitting home runs, and with their speed and stolen base upside. Carroll's 6'2", yes, he's definitely caught up to that price tag. His price tag has caught up to him. Same with Marte at 5'3". Walker, he's right around there. I would not shock me if he was a little bit above, but he's right around there. But everybody else, I think, is just a little bit too cheap with the upside that these guys can bring. I don't want to, lock in any guys in this video just because I don't know the starting pitcher and everything, but I do think that Arizona is probably going to be one of my favorite, or one of the better teams that I'm going to want to be targeting. Texas, also very expensive, but they are the best team. They're facing off against Severino, by the way. But they're the best team against right-handed pitching in the entire league. They're better than Tampa Bay. They're better than Atlanta. They have, when you're looking at the numbers, they have the best offense against right-handed pitching in the entire league. And again, their pricing, it really shows for it, and that's kind of why I have Arizona ahead of them. It's just because these guys are just dang expensive. But again, another rain threat game, so pay attention to the rain. If it holds off, maybe it's going to reduce their ownership even more. So maybe if you can tell, right before lock, oh man, these guys got a window, maybe throw some Texas stacks in there as a nice GPP play, probably pretty low owned against Severino, who, he's got his fair share of struggles. He's not the Severino of years past. Sorry. I was trying to hold back a yawn there. Boston, kind of rounding things out there. Over to the GPP. I just mentioned how every single team, all the games that have run totals are 8.5, except for this one, which is close to 12. And that's a massive gap. That's a Coors Field gap. But it is what it is. Cincinnati has been absolutely on fire these past 2 weeks, but so has Atlanta in terms of the offense. Like, these are two phenomenal offenses going at it together. Cincinnati's facing off against Schuster. No interest for Schuster at all for Atlanta. I think he's the guy, when I was looking at my research, he's got more walks than strikeouts. Yes, 7 walks, 3 strikeouts in his past 3 starts. Not good. When you only muster 3 strikeouts and 16 innings of work, that's not good. So I'm going to have a lot of interest in Cincinnati. It's your usual guys. I mean, if you've been playing any MLB DFS here this season, you know the usual guys that we're talking about. We're talking about De La Cruz for sure. De La Cruz and India, they're going to be the guys that, get you the stolen base upside as well. Joey Votto is back. He's the grandpa of the ballpark there, but he's just not a solid spot. Steer, McLean, maybe not so much Fraley and Friedel will have as much interest just with the lefty-lefty matchups. Probably going to be sticking up a little bit closer near the top. But if you're doing a big red stack, you definitely going to want De La Cruz, and you're definitely probably going to want India in there as 2 of your guys. Right below them, I do have Toronto going up against Harris for Oakland. If somehow, they can get past Harris and he only goes, 2 or 3, maybe 4 innings, like 2 is like a very hopeful thing. Like, the Harris is going to go a couple of innings here. But if they can get him out, they get that Oakland bullpen, so they're always going to be in play, in my opinion. Tampa Bay, amazing team. Great offense. Going up against Lyles. And fun fact, here's do I give our sports bet out here? I'm 1-0 on the season. I'm going to do it. Tampa Bay, first 5 innings, money line. Okay, there you go. We'll see if it hits. I don't even know what the odds are for that. But yeah, so Tampa Bay going up against Kansas City. I love it. They just have some pinch hit risk. Just kind of put them a little bit down here. But cheap here, Oakland. You're going to need some cheap guys if you're going to want to be, going double stud pitcher on the slate, which I feel like you almost have to. But Oakland, extremely, extremely affordable. Still only 2 guys that are priced above 2.8K. Ruiz, he's finally seeing his salary tick up a little bit more. He was only in like 3.1 or 3.2K this past week. So 3.6 is getting up there a little bit more. But like, if Ruiz can get on base, even if it's just like a single, he's going to be stealing a base. Like, it's very likely to be happening. So stolen base, single, boom. He's already paid off his price tag. He doesn't really have to even do anything else. But obviously anything else is better. So Barrios, like I said, he's been a big boom bust pitcher. So maybe he has one of his weaker games, or even, he just struggles against Ruiz or Rooker or Noda, whoever. And they can get on base. It's not going to take much for these guys to pay off their salary. And they're going to have a lot of guys in the top of the order who are very cheap as well. So I do think Oakland can be there. New York Mets, they're kind of cheaper than I don't know if I haven't paid attention too much or whatnot, but only 2 guys above 3.9K in this entire Mets lineup. It was kind of shocking to me. But again, I do think Philly's probably the biggest risk in terms of weather, in terms of rain. So I don't want to go too much into the Mets here. But yeah, so that's kind of where everything lands. It's going to be paying up for pitchers. It's going to be paying attention to the rain and trying to find some value bats. Because like, all the best offenses in the positions that they're in are facing off against the worst pitchers. So it's going to be very heavily weighted to, you want to pay up for bats, but you also want to pay up for pitchers, and where are you going to find that balance? So it's the fun of DFS. So thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it as always. Subscribe, please subscribe. We're trying to hit 5,000, and that would just mean the world to us. So thanks so much again for watching. Good luck in your contests. No video on Sundays, but we will be back on Monday.